All right, we're now in chapter 40 of book 5 of the DBG. Nambiorix and his new crew that he has recruited, the Nervii, the Anuatiki, all their subordinate tribes, show up at Cicero's camp, punch Cicero's camp in the face. The key is, you might be punched in the face, you might fall down, but you got to get back up, and that's what Cicero and his camp is going to do. So, immediately, confessed, letters are sent to Caesar by Cicero, and they are sent with great rewards. Magnis primiis, this is the word premium. We get the word premium, that's a reward. With great rewards having been propositioned, having been proposed, if they had carried them through. The problem is that obviously they're going to keep watch on that camp like a hawk are the Gauls, the enemies. And they're not going to let anybody escape. And so it says, with all the roads having been besieged, obsideo, obsidere, obsessus sum, that's where we get the word obsession. With all the roads having been besieged, the ones having been sent, medo, menere, misi, misis, they are intercepted. So, he immediately sends a bunch of letters, but the letters do not get through to Caesar. At night, from the material which they had brought in for the sake of fortification, munition, and you ain't gonna believe it, but absolutely, this is what ad modum means. Ad modum means like, really, really. I don't know how to translate it, but nevertheless, unbelievably, I am being for sure is what ad modum means. CXX, 120 towers, and remember that turris is a pure I stem. 120 towers are raised up, are excited with incredible speed. The reason why you use the word ad modum, meaning like really, is because normally 120 towers take a long time. It's like the very beginning of the pandemic. In Wuhan, I remember watching a huge hospital being built in like 1 week's time in Wuhan to try and relieve the stress and relieve the strain being placed on hospitals all around that beginning hotspot of the coronavirus. And so it was just amazing to watch in time lapse of only over a week, this from the ground up, it being built. That's exactly what they do. It is absolutely speed of the necessity to be able to get ready to defend the camp from the constant pressures being put on it. 120 towers with incredible speed. And the things which seemed to lack, remember the summe se with a day on the front of it is going to be to lack, for the work, opus, operis, those things are accomplished, are done. Facio, facere, facie, factus, with a pair on the front. So, that night, they spring to action with incredible speed because they know that they're in it for the long haul. And on the following day, the enemies, with troops, remember the kopi usaum can mean abundance, but in the context of war, it's often going to be troops. And with maioribus, with greater troops, and greater by much, an ablative of degree of difference, with greater troops, having been compelled, kogo, coege, kogo, kogere, coege, coactus, they attack the camps. So on the following day, the enemies attack the camps with greater by much troops having been compelled. So, day 2, they get even more people to slam the camp again. And they fill the ditch. Now what does that mean? Well, remember that the ditch is dug in front of the camp wall, which of course is made out of dirt. And so they're going to fill that ditch up, probably with sticks and branches and anything that they can find, so that obviously they might have a better route of attack. With the same technique, with the same rationale, with which, on the day before, it is resisted by our guys. Now what does that mean? It means the Romans, they do the same exact kind of things that they did on the day previously of defending the camp. Why? Because it worked. And so, with the same technique, with which on the day before, it is resisted by our guys. And this same thing, Hulk Edom, S-A-N with D-E-M, the same. This same thing goes down. The same thing happens. The same thing is done on the remaining days, game kept day after day. So, same stuff, different day. So, what happens is that day comes along, enemies attack, Romans defend. Next day, enemies attack, Romans defend. It becomes Groundhog Day, like the movie, for the Romans and the enemies every single day. So, what then happens? No part of the nocturnal time is paused for the labor. So it's like a factory running 24 hours a day. The Roman camp is running 24 hours a day. So what do they do during the daylight? Fight, defend. What do you think they're going to be doing at night? Preparing for the next day. Not to the sick, not to the wounded, is the faculty, is the ability of rest given. In other words, every hand on deck, every single man in the camp contributes, has to. And whatever, quaicumque means whatever, there is need of. Opus est, or opus sunt here because quaicum is plural, is an idiom that means there is need. So whatever there is need for the attack of the genitive following day, whatever there is need for, that whatever, is prepared at night. So if you need more weapons, we're making them at night for the next day. You need more defense walls, we're making them at night for the next day. It really is like a factory going 24/7. Have to. Their life depends on it. And many wall stakes. These are these huge pikes, these huge stakes that are going to obviously be propped up to prevent any sort of attack. So, they are wall stakes having been hardened with fire, having been burned, and a large number, and this is literally meaning wall pikes, wall spears, muralium. Moralius means related to a wall. So many stakes having been burned, you burn it to harden the wood. Green wood will very often be pliable, but when you obviously take it and put it in fire, it will harden it to where obviously it won't be pliable, won't bend, and will be much more effective as a weapon. So many stakes having been burned, and a great number of wall stakes are created, are instituted. Towers are contabulated. Contabulated means to obviously build up. Pinnae loricae. So, pinnae are, it's hard to describe. It is the parapets and merlins. What I mean by that is that they are the, here it is. A parapet is just a wall. Merlins are these little things that you see like in a castle that you can hide behind. So pinnae loricaeque, parapets and merlins, are interwoven from wicker. And now, not wicker that we think of it. You are making these huge walls with large logs. And the reason being is that it's going to make it stronger when you interweave it, just like that. If it is just a piece of wood, it is not as strong if it is a solid piece of wood as wood interwoven, as it were. It's kind of like if you were wearing one piece of clothing of a certain thickness, you'd be able to stab through it a lot more easily than if you were to wear layers of clothing, because you have to go through each layer, and each layer is creating a greater boundary that will absorb the energy of whatever's trying to pierce it. And that's what's going on here. Why? Out of wicker. So, merlins and parapets are interwoven out of wicker. Cicero himself was with the thinnest strength. He was sickly at this time. Nay, and ne quidem, it means not even. So Cicero himself was with the thinnest strength, and not even was he leaving behind for himself the nocturnal time for rest. What this is saying is that Cicero is not in the best of health right then, but even he doesn't sleep at night. The man who is the commander, and he does this, that on his own part, Fultro, he was compelled to spare his voices and himself from the running around of the soldiers. What does that mean? That means that he is pushing himself just as much as the normal soldiers are. He does not hold back, even though he is the commander, and even though that he is of not the best health. So say it again. Cicero himself was with the thinnest strength. Not even was he leaving behind the nocturnal time for himself for rest. That he was compelled on his own part to spare his voices and himself. And really, I think that what we should do is to just take Sibi as the object of spare and understand those being maybe ablatives. He was compelled to spare himself from the running around of the soldiers and from the voices of the soldier. What does that mean? Is that it means he's still doing the action just like they are, and he's still commanding them on his own part. Why? Because he has no choice. It says it right here. He was compelled. And so this next chapter, 41, we get to find out that obviously, what is the techniques that Ambiorix will use with Cicero? Well, if it worked once, do it again. He's going to try to talk them out of the camp. And we'll see if Cicero is smarter than what idiot Sabinus was.